right, we are now recording. All right, you guys, welcome to this week's edition of Noire Life Mag Presents. I am honored and very privileged to have the awesome Tianna Harrison with me today, who is the founder, CEO of H.O.S.T. To give you a little background information about Tianna and myself, Tianna is like my big sister, my mentor. We met in high school, and I have not been able to get rid of her since. She is definitely that friend that will call you, correct you when you need it, but do it in love. Um, we could always go to her for advice. She was definitely the big sister on campus, and she's still that way in life. Even though we don't talk as much, I know I can always reach out, for advice, things like that, and she'll give it to me straight, right? Um, so as I mentioned before, with my magazine, I want to highlight those awesome, amazing Black people in our community and our culture that are doing marvelous things within our community, right in our own backyards. And so this is a chance for me to highlight not only what she does, but also to talk about some very sometimes washed over or forgotten issues that we have in the Black community. So definitely want to touch on that. And so I'm going to let her introduce herself and give us a little bit about H.O.S.T, and we'll jump in from there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, David, for having me. I'm so excited. When I got this invitation, I was like, okay, definitely down for the call. So thank you again for having me. So my name is Tianna, as David has already mentioned. I am by day an academic advisor and instructor at a university here in North Carolina, and I've been in education pretty much since graduating from college in some way, shape, or form, whether it was nonprofit work, working with high school students like through Upward Bound and Trio programs, and then transitioning into higher education. Um, I kind of married the two, so education and nonprofit, when I decided to come up with H.O.S.T, which is housing one student at a time. How I got to this point was just meeting with students as an academic advisor and learning some of the issues and struggles that they were having as students. And you said it perfectly. These are issues that's just kind of washed over. We never really think about college students as being homeless. So that's kind of how H.O.S.T was born. We have a variety of services. So one of our services is the H.O.S.T Supply, and that's where we do care packages and give out care packages to college students. It is primarily for students who have housing insecurity. So I think I might have skipped over that. That is what H.O.S.T is. That is our mission. We assist students that have housing insecurities. Another one of our um services, if you will, is the H.O.S.T living community. That's a service that I hope to have. Let me put it that way. So that is my big goal, is to have a learning community where students in the community from all colleges will be able to have housing. Another one of our services is the Family Network, H.O.S.T Family Network. So we call it HFN. It kind of works very similar to, um, if you think like exchange programs. So a student would come over, like a homestay exchange program. Student would come over, they have a family to live with. It works the same way, but these are college students who are local, and who need a place to stay. Yeah, that's pretty much H.O.S.T. We are working to help these students because they are a population that not many people think need help, but they do.
I like that. So, in talking about students, especially college students being homeless, how many percent of that homeless population would you say is Black students or students of color?
I would say at least, and this is ballpark, um, probably about 65 to 70% would be students of color. And they're also the students who typically don't tell anyone that they're struggling or that they need the help. Um, I will tell you, the students that I've had one-on-one conversations with, they were all students of color.
And
Mhm.
you know, that's definitely something we have to also talk about, consider, is sometimes students are afraid how they'll be perceived,
Yes.
or they have this pride, their pride gets in the way, right? You know, I don't want any help, I'm good.
Mhm.
So, what have you done on your end, or what is the process looks
Mhm.
like when you have a student that is in need and maybe they don't want to talk about it right away? Are they referred through other students or through staff? How does that work? How does that look like?
So I will tell you that Host is in its infancy stages, meaning we are creating the process for students to be referred. But ideally, students, and typically when I talk to students, they're coming straight to me. But the ideal process is that they're referred by an advisor or counselor, someone that they have confided in. If they've confided into another student, which is not very likely, then they can be referred that way as well. And also, a lot of students, they may be homeless and not even realize that they have that housing insecurity because they might be um, house hopping, like going from friend's house to friend's house, sleeping on the couch. I've had students who sleep in their vans, and as long as they have that roof over their head, then they're cool. And they take a shower at, like at the athletic center. So they sometimes don't even classify in their mind that they're homeless. So that's something else to think about too.
Yeah, and you know, I think with this pandemic, with COVID-19, it really shed some light on what's really going on in all areas, you know, education, economics, the racial divide, technology divide. Like it just shed light on so many different
Yeah.
aspects. But you know, I like the fact that you're touching an issue that's rarely talked about. You know, we really never thought about that. And I always think about my days at East Carolina University, where the university was in the process of changing their holiday schedule, where students could no longer stay on camp, or they could stay on campus,
Mhm.
but dining halls, I think, were closing. And,
Yeah.
and when I heard that, I was like, well, what's the big deal? Because in my head, I'm thinking everyone's going home for the holidays, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm going home for the holidays. So in your mind, you're thinking that's the that's the way everybody's going
Of
home or going
course.
somewhere, right? But
Mhm.
in reality, that wasn't the case for a lot of students,
Yes.
especially for a lot of students of color or Black students. They were literally like staying on campus and just living off snacks, or they would
Mhm.
probably go to like a local fast food place during that holiday time. And I was just like, wow, didn't know that. And
Mhm.
so I think it's so significant that you guys designed this. Um, can you kind of give us, I don't know, have you had any personal experience with someone or maybe a friend or relative who may have experienced this? What does that conversation look like with the student?
Right.
Having that
So
conversation with them.
I will tell you, I have had personal conversations with students, and I will tell you, it's always shocking to hear their stories, right? So, as an academic advisor, I am paid to like really dive in and figure out what's going on with the student academically. Like, you're not doing well in your classes, what's happening? That's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I have a passion for education and really helping students be successful and complete their undergraduate career. So it's more than just being paid to. It's truly a passion of mine. But as an advisor, I am paid to ask them what's going on. And so once we start that conversation, and then they start, okay, Miss T, because I go by Miss T, and they're like, okay, Miss T, this is what's really happening.
Yeah.
I am like I said, I had a student who literally was not making his classes on time, or it was just be times where he's just tired and stressed out, and he's sleeping in his van. He's bathing at the student athlete center, and it's just a lot. it's a lot emotionally for them. I am a crier, so it's emotion. It's a lot emotionally for myself.
Yeah.
So just really trying to figure out how we got to this point and what can we do to get you out of this place. Identifying the resources that's available. Campuses are doing a better job these days, with having additional resources like the pantries that are now on campus. Like you mentioned, like meal dining centers were closed once upon a time during the holidays. They're actually on a lot of campuses are now open, during the holidays. Dorms used to close down for the holidays when I
Mhm.
was in school, and I never once thought about students not being able to go home, and that being their only safe place. But universities are doing a much better job these days. So those are some additional resources that's out there for them. But also, I want hosts to be in a, I mean, it takes a village, right? It takes a village.
Definitely.
So when those halls, those dorm halls aren't open, then I want hosts to be there. So like those short term times where it's just maybe they're out for Thanksgiving and everybody is closed. Well, let's see if we can pair you with the family real quick so that you're able to get that Thanksgiving meal. You're able to have that connection with people, and just not down about it. And just like I said, identifying the resources and helping them come up with a long-term plan. Even with hosts for our host family network, if they're placed into a family, we don't want it to be where they're feeling like they're going to be there forever, right? We need to come up with some type of plan so that when it's time for you to move on, you're able to, so that you can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't know what the word is I'm looking for.
They can
Just a,
transition.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely want them to be able to transition, yeah, into something more permanent
Right.
and stable. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes.
Stable. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's a big thing that a lot of college students, especially Black college students, students of color, struggle with stability, right?
Yes.
Um, Something that you mentioned to me, you probably forgot that you mentioned it, but you mentioned to me recently, and I was saying like, hey, I really want you to come on the show and talk about what Host has been doing in the pandemic. How's the pandemic kind of like interfered with the work that you guys do? Because we do know a lot of college campuses did close
Yes, it is.
uh, during the pandemic, and they sent everyone home. Like no one could be on campus, dorms, buildings, everything had to be cleaned, right? So what does that look like? How like have you guys been getting calls? Like have these students have already been placed? What has that done for you guys? What's going on with that?
Yeah, so for us, we have been providing care packages to students. So we have students who reach out to us, their families, due to COVID, may have lost their jobs. Students who may have been once working on campus, no longer working on campus, so they're out of work, and they just need some additional supplies, whether it was food or personal hygiene or cleaning supplies. They are able to request those things. So I've personally been out delivering care packages, putting some miles on my car, but it's okay for the babies. So I go out and I deliver the care packages to the students. They can make requests on what it is they need. And then I put that package together. We have a lot of donations that we get in, and then I send them off to them
Wow,
or
that's
drop them
amazing.
off to them.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. That is truly amazing. Um, so we talked about hosts, we talked about homelessness among the student population, especially the Black student population. Um, what does that look like when you talk with other administrators at the universities, at the colleges? Are they as like passionate about the work as you are? Like, are they jumping in and saying, you know what, we're going to help you? Because I know you mentioned earlier there are some professors, some advisors that may refer kids or send the kid to you about the information.
Mhm.
But is that everybody? Is it a team type thing? Does everybody like jump on board and like, you know what, let's get this kid help? What does that look like? Because I know sometimes there can be pushback
Mm-hmm.
from, higher ups. I've been there. So
I will say that the administrators that I work with have been extremely supportive, because they're there. We all have a common goal, which is to assist the student and get them whatever resources and assistance that that student may need. I have not ran into someone who just refused to help a student.
good.
To be in education, I feel like you have to be passionate about it. Otherwise, it doesn't work because we're not in it for the paycheck. Let's be honest. So you
Right?
have to be like you have to have some type of passion for it and to really help the students. So I haven't had much pushback at all. Everyone has been very receptive. Even me being a full time advisor instructor, but also having a nonprofit, they know that I also have a nonprofit and they're like, "Oh, just please tell us more. Let us know how can we refer students and this and that." So they've been pretty supportive during it all. Mhm.
Good. I like that. You know, I think as we grow older, as we grow wiser, we learn so much about the world around us. And it's kind of like the more we go deeper into our talents, into our gifts, and learning how to use them properly, right? Um, we kind of learn how to better serve the community. And I
Mhm.
can truly say you are doing an amazing job with that.
Thank
Tianna has always been the helper. She was always the helper when we was in high school.
It's true.
Something goes on, like Tiana's walking around playing it. Look, we got to get this done. Look, we got it, and it's just like, okay, just y'all just get it done, so she can not holler at us. Like, get it done. Um, but I definitely enjoyed talking about your organization. But um, to give a little bit about you, being a black woman
Yeah.
um, in higher ed with a nonprofit, uh, pandemic, racial tensions, uh, just some of everything happening right now. How have you balanced all of that
Mhm.
in this time in your life?
With a lot of prayer, my friend. A
I
lot of
think we're all
prayer.
there. We're all
Yeah. At my current institution, it is a PWI, so primarily white institution.
there. Hmm.
Um, I think that's how that goes. PWI. Yes,
Yeah,
that's how it is.
primarily white, predominantly white. They get it because we had this.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm at a PWI. And you can tell among the students, the faculty, and staff. So within our department, we make it a point to get all of. We have something called us folk luncheons.
I
And we
like
make it a
that.
point, yeah, to get together and to just talk and to just let it all go. And it's been very helpful, to be honest. It does help with the balance of it all because you remember that you're not by yourself here. Because in my department, my little small department, I am the only person of color. Um,
Wow.
and it's a little, it can take you aback just a little bit. It's like, okay, all right. And you have to make sure you don't slip into that, this is what a black person is a how this is how a black person is supposed to behave, type of role.
Mhm.
So to have those us folks luncheon really does help. um yeah, I would say that that's a big piece of my balance, and for real prayer, like for real, because sometimes I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't understand what's going on, why we're doing it this way. But it is what it is sometimes.
I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. I definitely can agree with that. Like 200% between prayer and meditation. Um, uh, this has really taught us to love God a lot better and to love
Yeah.
ourselves,
Yeah.
treat ourselves better, and not just ourselves, like as individuals, but our community. Um,
Mhm.
so I am definitely feeling you on that. So, you know, balance, keeping all that together.
And
What
making some time for yourself.
and making
It's
time for yourself.
important.
Making time for yourself. That's definitely true.
Self-care is important.
Um, and I had to do a little self care before I got on camera with you, like, because I had to I haven't been to the barber in over 4 months,
Really?
so I had to wash and all of that and
Mhm.
sponge it because I was like, I'm not gonna get up here and look crazy because folks gonna be like, what's wrong with this brother, right? Um, but what is next for Host? What would you like
Yes.
to see? I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but what is next for Host? Because I want our viewers to kind of think about this as an organization to volunteer with, to donate to. Um, and I want them to also think about it in our own communities because, that's definitely an issue. I'm pretty sure in Philadelphia. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that's an issue in New York, or
Oh,
that's an
for sure.
issue. It's everywhere where you have colleges and universities, right? Higher ed, post secondary education. So we definitely need more organizations teaming up together. Because I just interviewed someone a while ago, and we were talking about she created a mentorship program,
Mhm.
and part of her consulting business, she doesn't just get the kid ready for college. She places them with a mentor at
Mhm.
that college.
Yes.
Because with Black students, a lot of times we get them there, but then the thing is to get them to stay there, right?
Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
so, I really want you guys to kind of talk to each other because I think you guys would be great connecting and networking because um, we all need to be here for the kids, right?
Mhm.
We all need to be that village that they need because it's one thing to take them to the place where they need to be, but give them the resources to help
Right.
them succeed while they're there. So, what's next for Host?
Yeah. So host is going to secure some grant money. Let's be honest. That's
Let's
that's
keep this
definitely
resistance. Yes.
yes. That's definitely next. But no, seriously, I feel that I would love for our host family network to be active, and extremely active, meaning having those families volunteer, and sign up so that our students have a place to go when they need it, whether short term being a week to a summer semester or long term, a full academic year. So I feel like that is definitely something that's coming. And just to have the support for it to really be known as a resource amongst the college, amongst all college campuses, to be
Yeah.
quite honest. Especially here in North Carolina because that's where we're housed right now. But eventually all over because, like you said, it is a situation that happens everywhere. I think in 2013, which was the latest numbers, because there's not many studies on this either.
Yeah.
So it was like 58,000 students reported themselves as being homeless,
Mm.
or having housing insecurities rather. That's a lot of students. And
Yeah.
those are only the students who willingly
Recorded.
admit. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, I feel that we just really want to be the voice so that people understand that this is something that's happening, and that something needs to be done about it.
And just for our viewers to let you guys know how important this is to her. And when she first started, which was how many years ago with Hope?
2015, 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had asked me to come on board. At the time, I was like, sure, I'll do it because that's my friend. I'll do that. But
Yeah.
then I was bombarded with work and a whole lot of other stuff. And I remember she reached out to me and she did it in love. She was like, David, are you really like what's going on? What's happening? Are you part of this? Like, are you gonna be there? Are you going and I was just like, I don't think I can do it. Say what now? And you was very, and you know what? We need leaders like that. That's going to be like, look, if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Yeah.
But you can still support and
Yeah.
engage. But if you can't commit,
No
and
love lost.
exactly, and so it taught me something, and that's something that I'm learning, being, ahead of. Well, I don't want to say ahead of, but being a part of the team
Mm-hmm.
here at my own company, learning to be that voice to say, hey, if this is too much commitment for you, let me know,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's something you definitely taught me with that. And I definitely appreciate that.
You're not the only person I did that to. Just FYI.
I know, but I just had to say that was a learning thing. And I think a lot of people don't realize when people do that, when they're not coming at you out of anger, they're coming at you out of passion because
Yeah.
like Host is your baby.
My baby.
Noire life is my baby.
Yeah.
So, when you have babies, you want to nurture them, you want to take care of them. So, in the same way with your organization, whether it be nonprofit, whether it be a business, whatever the case may be, you definitely want to make sure that all those who are involved, hands on deck, are
Mm-hmm.
definitely engaged and committed.
Yes. Yes.
So I definitely thank you for teaching me that, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
better for it because I'm telling you, I would have never we would not even be having this conversation right now. So you planted the seed. That's the first. That's the second time she planted the seed. The first time, and she probably ain't gonna remember this, and then we're gonna end the show. Uh, and this is just some funny things I like to do with each of my guests. I was in high school. I was maybe in ninth or 10th grade. So I was like freshman, sophomore. And I knew I wanted to do journalism, but I wasn't quite sure. So I said, well, I'll be an oncologist, study cancer, find a cure, all that. And I was so much in the glamour of being a doctor. So, like white coats, the scrubs, Dr. David, Dr. Cheney, like that was my thing. She brought me into reality real quick because one day we were on the bus and I think we were all like talking about, and this is the kind of friendships that I tell my students they need to have, even as a teenager. We were all talking about things that we wanted to do one day. And I remember you saying to me, and I said something, I don't know what I said, but you looked at me, you was like, you do know patients may die. And I was like, because that had never crossed my mind. Honest to goodness, that had never crossed my mind because I was looking at the fact that, oh, everybody's going to come through. They're going to be cancer when I'm their doctor. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're going to lose some patients. And when
Yeah.
you brought that to my attention, and then the whole like blood and gore and all of that part of it, I was like, yo, she got a point. I was like, maybe let me just focus on something else. And thank God I had journalism in the back of my mind. Like journalism was still like there. So she's the reason. She's one of the first plant seed planters for new.
Clearly, I was an academic advisor in high school because I don't remember this conversation, but I always tell people when they ask me, what do we do? I'm like, well, sometimes we have to be dream killers. And it sucks to say it. I hate using the term dream killers, but it's honest. Sometimes we have to give you a little dose of reality
Yeah,
because you're thinking one thing about this career and about your undergrad education, it's going to be completely different.
yeah.
So sometimes, dang, I started early.
You
Okay.
did.
Okay, Miss
You
T.
did. You did that. Let me tell you something. I tell people all the time, and I tell students, I tell coworkers, do what you love and love what you do.
Yes.
Do what
Yes.
you love and love what you do. Simple. That's all. And I'm telling you, everything will fall into place. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be cute. But you, at the end of the day, you'll enjoy it. You'll
Mhm.
enjoy the struggle. You'll enjoy the fruits. And so um, I think we need people around us to do that, to kill those dreams, because that makes space for something better.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you're getting rid of the weeds in the garden, right? And so you got to weed out that crazy stuff because if you don't, it'll choke out the roots of what really needs to grow.
Yeah.
So I definitely thank you for that because I would have been sitting up like in med school somewhere looking a complete fool and calling you on the phone like, Tianna, T, don't be here no more. And you can probably be like, David, you need to call your mom and daddy and tell them that, not me. But thank God, like, to have friends like you, and not just friends in high school, but lifelong friends who are doing awesome things and is still giving out great advice, and not just like advice to just say something, but you give sound advice.
Thank you.
And I'm forever grateful for that. And I'm pretty sure that every student you come in contact with is grateful for that.
They are my
Um,
babies.
so, with that being said, I definitely want you to give out the contact information. How can you be contacted? How can we contact hosts? How can we donate to hosts? How can we engage, especially people who may not live in North Carolina? Um, and we definitely want you to come back and share some things with us and do some great things. Maybe we can team up and uh,
Yeah.
do some awesome like give backs for students. So, just give us some contact information. And I'm also going to include her contact information in the little information session with this interview. So, all yours. Tell us how to get in contact with you.
All right, so you can visit us on our website at housing1student.org, and that's just the number one. So housing number one student.org. If you want to email me, you can shoot me an email at Tianna, Tiannah, so Tianna H, at housing1student.org.
All right, you guys heard it here at Noire Life Mag Presents. Once again, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to give us information about H.O.S.T, and just for sharing your time and your gifts with your students. And I look forward to seeing like what's going to happen like in the future. Like
Me too.
we're all here for you. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.